Hello, U.S. history. We're going to be talking today about the westward expansion. This is right after we've discussed the Transcontinental Railroad, and you can kind of see in this painting, there's a railroad there. One of the things I'm going to ask you to do today is to put call outs on this painting. I had mentioned the John Brown painting that we looked at during the Civil War. And when we did that, I made the call outs for you. I actually pre-labeled them, I left them on the side, and then you placed them on the painting where they should go. I'm going to do a slightly more advanced version of that today so we can practice your 21st century skills. But before we do that, grab a piece of paper. We're going to have a very quick introduction to this topic, and it's called Westward Expansion. And since we're doing this as a screencastify, you'll be able to rewind, repeat, slow down the information. But I want you to make sure you get the topic. And also that term, especially manifest destiny. The painting you're looking at today is called American Progress, and it's about this concept of manifest destiny, which we'll talk about today. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and advance the slide. So in the 1820s, America looks basically like this. We had just purchased land from France about 18 years before this. You can see that Canada is still part of Great Britain. There is Spanish possession, so all of that southwest area is still Spain. I think the Mexican Revolution happens in 1810 and will become northern Mexico then. So there's a lot of land, but not a lot of access. Of course, 1820s there weren't wide networks of railroads. If you got across that land, you went across in a wagon, which took months, several months. You encountered a lot of danger on the way because, of course, you will run into the Native Americans that were, that lived in that land. And so it was very dangerous, very treacherous. In order to sail, if you wanted to get to the other side of the country by water, you actually had to go around the tip of South America. And that took several months. So there was no easy way to get across this country in the 1820s. So there were no major railroads that went west. Travel west was very dangerous, at least 2 to 3 months, if not more. And it was 4 to 6 months by boat. And here's what I was just talking about. So if I'm here, let's say in New York, I'm going to sail down all the way down through this is Tierra del Fuego, tip of South America, and back up if I want to go to, say, California. That is a long way. We're eventually going to have a way through here, the Panama Canal, but that's not going to happen until the 1900s. So if you went by boat, you were in for a very long journey. So the only way across was wagon, and the only way around was boat, and it was a long trip. Okay. So what's going to happen when we saw that little clip of Hell on Wheels? It really gave us an idea of how disruptive this process was to the Native people that were already there. And it caused a huge amount of transformation in their lives. They lost the buffalo, they were put onto reservations, and all of these things are going to contribute to that. The concept we're concentrating on today is manifest destiny. I want you to get that idea in your brain because it kind of explains the attitude of imperialism that's going to arise in the US from that point on. These other events are all just contributing events, and I just kind of want you to know the sort of chronology of them. So the concepts listed here are manifest destiny. That was the idea that the United States was ordained by God to stretch from coast to coast. And that was the idea is to get all of the land all the way out to California. Gold being discovered in California is going to contribute heavily to that because a lot of people are going to enter California. The Homestead Act of 1862 is when people are going to be granted areas of land out in the middle of the country. And very often that land already had people on it, namely Native Americans. So they were giving away native land. The Transcontinental Railroad, we saw an example the other day of that construction and how those railroad lines were attacked. And then the whole concept of the American dream, that idea that you can own land, that comes out of this westward movement time. The West was viewed as a great untapped frontier. Um, and that whole idea of moving west, because of course by this time in the East, the cities were getting crowded and kind of dirty and gross, and you couldn't really own areas of land in the city. So if you wanted to farm land, you had to move west. The concept of manifest destiny was the belief that if America's mission was to expand from ocean to ocean, spreading democracy and freedom. But we know in many cases that is not, we're talking about expanding things like slavery or, the loss of land for Native Americans. So it wasn't exactly the result. That was the idea. Um, and it gets to be pretty violent and hostile. Native Americans are seen as being in the way of all of that. And in order to conquer those Western territories and unify, quote unquote, under one nation, they moved those people out of the way, and they did it brutally by moving them onto reservations and basically taking away their way to make a living. Oops, I did not have that one set up. Okay, we're going to pause here because this is a painting you're going to be looking at. This painting is called American Progress. It's by a guy named John Gast, and it's showing in one picture that idea that the East was developed, and as we moved west, we were bringing all different forms of technology, homesteaders, gold miners, settlers, and you can see on the left that there are native people in Buffalo, and they're being pushed out. And it's, the symbolism of the light versus the dark. It's a very sort of biblical, and there's an angel in it and everything. There's tons of stuff going on in this painting. But this was that idea that leads to the, you know, the killing of the American West in many cases, because of course the native people are going to be wiped out. So this attitude that you're allowed by God to do this, unfortunately, that attitude leads to you, pushing other people out of the way. So there's, like I said, tons of symbols here, and I'm going to be putting them on a list by the slide, and these are going to be the symbols you call out to kind of understand what's going on in this painting. Okay, I'm going to pause right here. Keep that topic because we're going to finish this topic, but we're going to pause right now, and you're going to use the remaining class time to go back to Google Classroom, and you will see an assignment here. I'm actually going to be listing all of the symbols, and you're going to make call outs to go on the slide, and I'm going to show you how to do that technology wise. So if I'm on this slide, I'm going to move it up just really quick here. I will have on one of these slides a list. Let's say I have angel with Bible. So if that's one of the things you're supposed to put on the slide, then you would go back, and this time you're making your own call outs. So you go to insert. In this case, you're going to go down to shape. When you open shape, there's all of these different call outs. You're allowed to use arrows if you want, except you're going to have to type in them. So that's why I usually favor the call outs. So let's say I choose the scroll shape, this one, as my call out. I'm going to place it near the symbol. I'm going to reshape it. I'm going to make it a little smaller because I'm going to have to fit, quite a few call outs on the slide. So I'm putting it up by the angel, and then I'm going to have to type on that. So I'm going to insert text right on the box, and I'm going to put angel with Bible. Move that up there. And then You have to be careful when you reshape these, but once you do that, then my call out is done. So I've successfully labeled my slide with a call out. I don't necessarily care which font you use. You probably should make it a little bigger than this one. So I'm going to change the size of the font there and then adjust it a little bit so you can actually see it. There we go. So there we go. You are allowed to use any call out shape you want, but just make sure that you're adjusting it. There's going to be, I lightened the painting so you can actually see kind of all the different things that are going on. Probably going to be about maybe 8 or 9 things you'll label on here. Okay, and then there will be directions about how to submit this, and I'm going to have it due for you by Thursday. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop screen sharing, and you can go into Google Classroom and start the assignment.